Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Ms. Nicol, the commission has before it your affidavit of complaint, which I respectfully request be made part of the record at this time. The purpose of today's hearing is for the commission to review the qualifications of the candidates to determine whether Judge Bromell Holmes is qualified to be on the Court of Appeals. The commission is not here to relitigate a case. They do not have the ability to change the result of your case. Ms. Nicol, you submitted your affidavit, which the commission is reviewing. Is there anything else you wish to testify to, specifically regarding Judge Bromell Holmes' ethics, competency, or character that has not already been covered in the documents before the commission?
There may be a few items that I prepared that may not be specific in my affidavit, but it is very similar.
Would you like to offer that testimony now?
Do you want me to just go ahead with what I was prepared with today? Or?
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you again for having me here today. This will actually be my second time petitioning and appealing to the JMSC regarding Judge Bromell Holmes. I believe there's a difference in desiring to be promoted, which is one thing. There's also deserving to be promoted, which is quite another. And today I am going to be speaking on ethical fitness and professional and academic ability, character, and reputation. Under the ethical fitness category, it would be the responsibility of Judge Bromell Holmes, obviously to see cases objectively and without bias, and to comply with the Code of Judicial Conduct. Specifically, Canon 3 cites that a judge should be patient, dignified, respectful, and act according to the law. Under the professional and academic ability, a judge should be well-versed in the legal principles, procedural, and evidentiary rules. Under character, I have ethical standards and work habits should be scrutinized. And Judge Bromell Holmes' reputation in Horry County, South Carolina, is that Holmes is a homewrecker. And as awful as that may sound, and I hate to have to say that out loud, on September 15, 2021, Judge Bromell Holmes oversaw my case. She has lived up to her reputation, at least in my particular situation. Sadly, her decisions in court on this particular day affected the lives of two innocent children. They were both under the age of 5 years old. Her temperament in court has changed the entire trajectory of my life, my children's lives, my husband, my entire family, negatively. I sought the courts for protection that day, and Judge Bromell Holmes was overseeing my case. Due to her short temper, her disregard for the evidence that was submitted, the lack of her critical thinking skills, she has disrupted the status quo in a nanosecond. In a 15-minute hearing, the entire status quo for my children's lives were completely disrupted. She did not apply the law, the South Carolina Code 63-15-240, which could have been applied in my situation. There were 17 criteria that could have been used to protect our children in a domestic violence situation. Judge Bromell Holmes, unfortunately, did not deliberate the facts of my case. She did not discern the matters, and she made some very irrational decisions. It was obvious.
Ms. Nicol, let me
Yes.
just pause you there. I appreciate the gravity of the issue that we're dealing with, and certainly want to empathize and afford some latitude for your testimony. Our rules require that the testimony be additive to the materials that have already been submitted, meaning that we have the allegations, we have the complaint, and so what we need at this stage in these proceedings are things that we don't have in the complaint. And at this point, again, I don't want to be rude or disrespectful. I'm happy to hear out what else, and I think I speak for the rest of the commissioners in saying, we'd like to hear what you have in addition to the written materials that have been entered into the record. And so just we'll take a couple more minutes here to get where we got to get, but I think it's important that we not just re-verbalize what we already have in the record.
I I didn't believe that I had put all of those things into my affidavit specifically, so I apologize if that's not the case. I was speaking specifically to Judge Bromell Holmes' reputation and her character at this point, which is part of the criteria today, so I can.
Yes, ma'am, we appreciate that. We had a matter earlier where I specifically needed a request, a direction to what point is, so I appreciate that. I'm just asking you to jump to the part about, that will provide some additional information to the committee, but with specificity if you could.
I believe Judge Bromell Holmes relied on the sway of the lawyers in the court hearing versus relying upon the facts and evidence that were presented. I believe if we're talking about Judge Bromell Holmes moving up to the appellate court, my understanding would be that the appellate court doesn't always have live testimony, so we're relying heavily on facts and evidence, and we're relying on documentation. In the lower courts, I provided all of those things to Judge Bromell Holmes, and it was disregarded. So my concern would be that if Judge Bromell Holmes is not reviewing evidence appropriately in the lower courts, can she do that in a higher court situation where we're heavily relying on that? I understand in my situation, she became very frazzled in court, and she kind of threw her hands up and just cut the baby in half. But these are real people's lives. And when documentation of significant value is placed before a judge in the appellate court from someone in the lower courts who are seeking advocacy or justice or mercy, can Judge Bromell Holmes do that? Could she do that? I don't know. She certainly didn't do it at the lower courts. Typically when we promote somebody, we're promoting them based on meeting criteria, being able to advance to the next level. So if we're talking about giving Judge Bromell Holmes a promotion and advancement, we should heavily weigh what did not occur in the lower courts. Perhaps Judge Bromell Holmes needs more time. Maybe she needs more time in the lower courts to rectify the things that are going on unaccounted for, so that we don't have people like myself looking to a higher court situation and already having the reputation of Holmes as a homewrecker. That doesn't give me a lot of, confidence.
Thank you, ma'am. Do any members of the commission have questions for Ms. Nicol? Senator Sapp.
I do that. Thanks, Chairman, and thank you, ma'am, for coming. What I heard, or some of what I heard, was that you believe that there were errors of law committed. And you were represented by counsel.
I was at the time.
Yeah. And so typically the way the system works is where the judge rules and the litigants believe that there's an error of law committed, then certainly not in the temporary realm, but for extraordinary circumstances, but ultimately if the outcome that's determined by a judge is inconsistent with the law, the litigants have a right of appeal. You're aware of that, right?
Yes, sir.
In your case, did you all appeal the order?
My case is kind of an anomaly, actually. So there was not an appeal that was done. It would have been wonderful to have correct legal proceedings in my case from lawyers, from judges. And I'm not here to litigate my case, but I can certainly tell you that
No, if I'm not-
that did not happen.
Yes, ma'am, and that's kind of what I wanted to just zero in on, because, I mean, you know, the way our system works, and you know, I've been practicing law now 36 years, and I've not always agreed with the rulings of particular jurists, and in some instances we've appealed, and in other instances we've not. I've not always agreed with the rulings of our juries, but we give deference to them as fact finders, and then sometimes we appeal, sometimes the appeals are successful, and sometimes they're not. But I guess just on the issue of errors of law being committed, I just wanted to make sure that the record was clear on the issue of whether or not there were appeals. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's the extent of my inquiry right now.
Thank you, Senator Sapp. Other questions from members of the commission? All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Nicol. We appreciate you making the time to be here and sharing your input. Raise your right hand.
Yes, sir.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir, I do.
Thank you very much. Ms. Foster?
Ms. Mitchell, the commission has before it your affidavit of complaint, which I respectfully request be made part of the record at this time. The purpose of today's hearing is for the commission to review the qualifications of the candidates to determine whether Judge Bromell Holmes is qualified to be on the Court of Appeals. The commission is not here to relitigate a case, and they do not have the ability to change the result of the case. Ms. Mitchell, you submitted your affidavit, which the commission is reviewing. Is there anything else you wish to testify to specifically regarding Judge Bromell Holmes' ethics, competency, character, that has not been already covered in the documents before the commission?
Yes, ma'am, I do, for just a few minutes, and I'll try to be brief. My name is Karen Mitchell, school teacher, business person in Myrtle Beach. I'm not a lawyer, but I have always been a child advocate and had something really bad to happen to me. Never been in court and everything before. Made me very aware of how the court system worked. I thought our system was honest. So from there, I started having different people contact me about, would you just go sit with me? Would you help me? Would you do this? Would you just help me to go through this process? So I started going into family court, sitting in family courts, just stopping in to different ones, or if somebody requested me go there. I don't do anything but sit, listen, take notes. I am not there as a lawyer. I'm not there for representation or anything. I am just there to support who is in there and who I look at everything that's going on. From there, it got so overwhelming that I started a courtroom watchdog group. So this group is, we go in, just sit, listen, and if something comes up or we notice that something is not right in the courtroom, then we try to help. We try to help that person. We don't do any type of judicial legal advice or anything. It's just, we notice this, you check on it. So it's overwhelming the problems in family court.
Ms. Mitchell,
So now I'm
going to give you plenty of chance to talk. I think you've done a great job of, we would say, laying the foundation
Yes,
for
sir.
your perspective. If you could take us to your observations of Judge Bromell Holmes.
I'm gonna do exactly like you said.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
All right, so here we go. So when you go, this is my opinion, when you go to ethical, I believe that, and I did not know Judge Holmes before I started this process. I had no contact with her, didn't know her family, nothing about her. But what I have noticed, and being in the courtroom, is that in my personal opinion, as an observer, teacher, and everything else, is I don't think she's prepared. I don't think she's read the file. And that comes under ethical, because I don't see impartiality. Because I know the players in Horry County, I know all the lawyers, I know which ones are the power ones, which ones aren't. And many times, the case goes to who that attorney is. And I just started keeping count. And so the second part is professional. I was in the courtroom one day, and she stated that a counselor's affidavit, the affidavit had stated that the person in the courtroom had made a complaint to LLR. Judge Holmes referenced that complaint. That complaint was from Roberta Bogle, I've got dry mouth, I'm sorry. And that is a counselor. The counselor broke the law by putting LLR in her affidavit to go to the judge, and then Judge Holmes referenced it in the courtroom against the plaintiff. And so that goes to professionalism. You need to know the law before you hold something against someone. I mean, LLR is supposed to be, you can't use it in court, it's supposed to be anonymous, your peers looking over it, and thank you. And it should not be ever used against someone. If somebody feels so confident to write into LLR that you know, and that they should be protected. The last part is temperament and judicial temperament. And so I'm in the courtroom that day, and Judge Bromell Holmes is this way, I'm to the right in the courtroom, just like this. And all of a sudden, her demeanor and her speech was, you could just kind of tell the harshness of it. And the lady to the right of me, she did like this, and all of a sudden, Judge Holmes flicked and turned to right and said something to like, see? And that is not the temperament of a judge in the courtroom. She didn't, I think she thought it was me, but I don't know the woman. I mean, I didn't know her from anywhere other than just helping people who were contacting me. I continued to go back many times into her courtroom, just sit, sometimes call, not. And I just to see the three things, and I will go back to your point. I see ethical, I see not prepared, impartial. This is my opinion. I see professionalism, knowing the law, and I see judicial temperament in how to treat these people that are going to the courts are upset. Their lives are being turned upside down. And you should show grace. You should follow the law. I'm not saying let people get in there. You should follow the law. But
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
I do appreciate that. Are there members of the commission that have questions for Ms. Nicol?
I'm Miss Mitchell.
I'm so sorry. Mitchell, what did I say? Nicol?
Yeah, that's
Oh.
okay.
There's a lot of head injuries over time. All right. I apologize, Ms. Mitchell.
No, you're fine.
Mr. Seven.
Ms. Mitchell, let me just ask you a few things, okay? I think you said that basically because of, I guess, concern, your passion, you started watching these courtroom proceedings. And you're nodding that's yes.
Yes, sir, that
Okay.
is correct.
Do you go to any courtrooms in the family court other than ones that Judge Holmes occupied?
Oh, absolutely.
Right, and have you found other proceedings to be to your satisfaction?
You know what? I've found that there's hiccups in every one of them. I found one other judge that it was very blatant, but you know what? That judge is doing better now. And yes, I see it in every one of them. I see it in the family court period, the abuse, and I'm gonna tell you what it comes down to. It's the almighty greed of the dollar.
Let me ask you another thing. Aren't family courts the ones that really handle the most emotional and highly charged type of
They
situation?
do.
And by its very nature, people are upset, aren't they? I mean, that's why they're there. They're disputing something that goes to the base of their lives, don't they?
You are correct, but understand that it is an emotional time, and it is for, you know, one side might do it either, but when you are in family court, you need the very best judge up before you. And I'm telling you what I have been witnessing for the last months and months, and since COVID kind of came up. And so I'm just telling you what I see as a teacher, as a business person, as a community person. Luke knows me. And my community, and that's what I'm doing now today.
Well, and I guess you'd agree with me that in life, there really isn't a lot of perfection in terms of we. the people.
Yes, sir. But, you know, and what I'll put on the record again today, which is the testimony from 2018. Who do I give it to? This is the transcript from 2018. This is when you questioned Judge Holmes.
Yes, ma'am. So we can take legislative notice
Okay.
to point of phrase of a previous transcript of this body. In fact, everybody watching can obtain a copy of that on scstatehouse.gov. I love to sell our state's website. It looks like the least sexy website that's ever been designed, but it's very informative. And so if you go to scstatehouse.gov, then Citizens Interest, Judicial Merit Selection Commission, there is a treasure trove of things like transcripts from 2018.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, so part of my contract required me to highlight that.
Thank you.
But anyway,
I'm not a lawyer.
the
so
floor
thank
is
you.
yours.
Ms.
So
Nicol,
you questioned her in 2018, and Mr. Young did too. And now, I'm telling you, I'm in court in 2019, and I knew nothing of this until just recently, this transcript. And because I don't do things just off the cuff. I'm very calculated, because you don't mess with people's lives and you don't do things like that. So I'm very calculated and I'm very concerned about it, and that's my reason for being here. And if you had concerns in 2018, I'm telling you, you should have concerns in 2023.
no, and I'll tell you, I've always got that level of concern, no matter who it is.
Yes, sir.
No matter what the situation is, I think there's a certain level of decorum that any judge tries to pursue. And I've said it then, I
Yes.
say it now. But I guess my question is this: we, as a group, this state for that matter, I don't think we in any way promise you perfect judges. That's why we have an appellate process, because people are necessarily inclined to make mistakes and do things that aren't necessarily always going to be correct. I mean, you agree with me on that, though, don't you?
Not necessarily. I believe that whenever you're in that position and you're making decisions in people's lives, that it is elevated to, it's elevated and you need to be on point.
Sure. But I guess my point is, I guess we wouldn't have any need for appellate courts if everybody got it right every time.
Correct.
Okay. But no, I appreciate your concern, and obviously you're here for,
Yes, sir.
a reason that obviously is close to your heart.
It
I
is.
get that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Black.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Want to give you a little bit of background. I think we have some commonalities.
Okay.
I'm the only non-attorney sitting here.
Yay.
And I'm a former child victims advocate, former clerk of court, understand the process and work with numerous judges. As a layperson, not as a, I was a sworn officer of the court, but not an attorney. So I get what you're saying, and I have often seen differences in how judges rule from the bench. And I can tell you, the understanding of a family court judge having to rule in some of the most highly emotional cases that probably any judge has to deal with, sometimes come across as not, let me finish, not as understandable, especially when because you always have two sides, and each side wants their side to be the right side
Right.
when the verdict comes. And so I just wanted to go on record to tell you that there is an understanding of a layperson
Yes, ma'am.
who doesn't have that full legal background of having gone to law school up here. And I thank you for your comments, but I also wanted to let you know that we all understand that that the outcome sometimes may not render what everybody wants, and that's on any level of court, whether it's criminal, civil, or family court, or whatever level it is. But I appreciate your comments today.
Well, thank you,
And I
but you know, my position on this is not the outcome or who won. My position on this is how the judge, it's not whether I like the person on either side or anything like that. We need to know that we have somebody in there that's gone over the records, that's impartial, that's got a temperament, and that knows the law. And that's what I'm saying, and that's what I've witnessed over and over, and that's my big concern.
And I understand that, so
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you, thank all of you, thank you very much for your time.
Are there any other questions for Ms. Mitchell?
Oh.
All right, I didn't want you to get out of
I'm
here.
sorry.
But it doesn't appear there are any other questions. I would just thank you for your time and effort and your diligence in this matter. Also, the way you've responded to my probing to get us focused on the issue before
School
this.
teacher.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. So I appreciate that very much as a poor student. I thank you
You
for
would have
that.
done fine in my class.
Thank you. I've been one.
I didn't send one kid to the office. I would probably be in jail now, because all I do is snap my finger and say, sit down.
Well, thank you very much again. Thank you for making the
Thank
trip
you.
here.